Good morning and welcome to this online hearing of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Ottawa under the Planning Act. This video conference is also live streaming on YouTube. With me are my fellow panel members, Jocelyn Chandler, Stephen Lewis, Terrence Otto, and Martin Vervoort. My name is Fabien Poulin and I will be chairing this hearing today. The procedure for this hearing will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen are applications we will hear today. For the sake of efficiency, the committee may deal with agenda items in a different order. Committee members have reviewed the planning reports and any written submissions in support or in opposition to each of the applications. Today, we'll hear oral submissions from any interested parties. Notice regarding minor variance applications, notwithstanding pre-consultation with city staff, it is the responsibility of the applicant to identify all required variances accurately on the application to either add a new variance or increase the extent of variance requested. Must be given in accordance with the Planning Act and may require the application to be recirculated for the next hearing date at a cost to the applicant at the prescribed fee. If an applicant amends their plans with no impact to their variances or to reduce the variances requested, recirculation may not be required. As part of the statutory declaration requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property and file a statutory declaration confirming the sign posting. This declaration must be on file today before we can hear the application. Without it, I may have to adjourn the application or administer an oath if necessary. Can the coordinator confirm that we have received all the statutory declarations?
Mr. Chair, we have not received any statutory declarations. The oath will need to be read for all.
I will do that. Thank you very much. And before we begin, we now have two items of business to address. Does any member present need to declare an interest in any of the applications that are before us today or on the agenda of another panel? Yes, Ms. Chandler?
I need to declare an interest in panel 2, item B-00228 and B-00119. And for this panel, panel 3, item number 3, B-00266 and 267. Item number 4, B-00199. Item number 5, B-00200. And previously adjourned items that may come back up today, items 8, B-00171 and 172, and item number 9, B-00186 and 187.
Thank you. And we also have minutes of two previous meetings to adopt. I'd like to ask the panel for approval of the minutes of July 7th. All in favor, please raise your hands. Those minutes are adopted, and minutes of the July 21st, 2021 meeting. Please raise your hands if you approve those meeting minutes. Those minutes are also approved. Now, because of Ms. Chandler's conflicts, we're going to do the following adjournment requests. We'll do the adjournment request in order as follows. Numbers 1, 2, 10, 3, and 9. That will be the order we will be reviewing these adjournment requests. Therefore, I'd like to ask the planner for 173 Rivington. I think it's Mr. Price. Mr. Price, are you available? Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Rod Price, Rortar Land Development Consultants, on behalf of the owners.
Okay, so you have an adjournment request by the planning department. Looking for, do you agree with that adjournment request?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair. I apologize. We just had an opportunity with an adjacent neighbor be presented to us last week where we can adjust some lot lines to make a cleaner building envelope for this parcel and add 1 unit. So in working with the kind folks in planning, we would like to adjourn this sine die until we get those applications in and process it all as one.
Okay, thank you. Does the panel agree with this? I'd like to ask the panel if they agree with adjourning this application sine die. All in favor, please raise your hands. This application is adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Price. Now we'll go on to application number 10. Mrs. Ander, are you available? I see your name. I don't see that you're. Hello, Ms. Zander.
Connecting.
morning.
Good morning, everybody.
I understand you'd like to adjourn your application today, Ms. Zander?
So we're looking at number 10, right? 758 John Kennedy Way.
Correct, number 10.
Yes, thank you. I really wanted to have this back before you today, but my client has not been able to retain a surveyor to get the accurate dimensions of the building that the committee wanted. So unfortunately, we're going to ask for a further adjournment. Just everybody's so busy. My client has indicated he would hope to have that information by the end of September. So if we're looking ahead perhaps to the second hearing in October, would give my client enough time to provide the information and for your staff to review.
Okay. And Mr. Harrigan, are you available? Can you comment on behalf of the city? You okay with the second week in August, or the second meeting in August?
Good morning, Mr.
October,
Chair.
please.
October, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. The planning department is agreeable with that adjournment request.
Okay, so that would be October the 20th. Ms. Zander, is that correct?
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to ask the panel for their approval of this adjournment to October the 20th. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Adjourned till October the 20th. Thank you, Ms. Zander.
Very good. Thank you.
So now we'll like to excuse Ms. Chandler so we can review items 3 and 9. On to number 3, having to do with 6150 Thunder Road. Ms. Libman, are you available? I see your name. I don't see that you're unmuted. There we go. Good morning, Ms. Libman.
Good morning. It's always nerve-wracking when you see yourself rejoining, spinning.
So I understand there is an adjournment request. Are you in favor of that adjournment request, Ms. Libman?
We definitely would have preferred to go ahead, but I always prefer to come without an objection. So if we could adjourn for 2 weeks to give us an opportunity to work with staff, that would be appreciated.
Okay. Mr. Harrigan, can you make a comment? Were you happy with 2 weeks from now to hear this application?
Thank you. To you, Mr. Chair, the planning department would request perhaps 4 weeks, just because they do need to revise their environmental impact statement, and we do need enough time for environmental planners to review that as well, too.
That work for you, Ms. Libman?
2 weeks is our preference, but I'm in the committee's hands.
There's a heavy workload that the staff has right now because of the backlog due to COVID. So I think it would be probably wise to look at it for 4 weeks from now.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to put that to the panel. Would you approve of this application being adjourned for 4 weeks to, what date is that? 4 weeks, second.
September 15th, maybe?
That would be the 15th of September, yes. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application has been adjourned to September the 15th. Thank you, Ms. Libman.
Thank you.
So now, we will now proceed to agenda item number 4. Would you call back Ms. Chandler, please, Madam Coordinator? Ms. Chandler is back. So we'll now hear the following 3 applications in the following order, and then we'll excuse Ms. Chandler again. Items number 4, 5, and 8.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We have to deal with number 9 still.
Oh, yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Ms. Chandler, we're going to have to excuse you once again. Thank you, Mr. Vervoort. Missed that one. Number 9. This is having to do with 7665 Bleaks. Ms. Zander, are you available? Good morning again.
Good morning. Thank you, Member Vervoort, for catching that. I appreciate that. This is some 7665 Bleaks Road. My client and I have had quite a bit of back and forth discussion with your staff, and just recently provided staff with an aggregate report prepared by an aggregate technical expert. I think that was just submitted yesterday. So we're going to ask for a further adjournment just to give your staff time to review that additional information. Again, optimistic for September 1st, if you can accommodate that on your September 1st agenda.
Pete has asked for sine die, but I'd like to ask Mr. Harrigan to have a comment on that. Mr. Harrigan?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, we are comfortable with September 1st. As when I wrote the report, we didn't have the updated materials and we've since been provided it. So we just need time to review it. We should be agreeable for September 1st.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to ask the panel to adjourn this application to September 1. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Your application's adjourned to September 1.
Very good.
Now thank you very much. Now we'll bring back Ms. Chandler. All right. Ms. Chandler is back. Now we're going to move on to application number 4, dealing with 6379 Perth Street. Mr. Sutherland, are you
Oh,
available?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I believe Ms. Chandler had conflicts on 4 and 5, so we would probably have to move to 6. Maybe Ms. Chandler can confirm.
Yes, we'll go with 6, 7.
That's correct. I can do those 2.
All right.
And then you're done with me.
All right, then we'll be done with you. Okay. Number 6 and 7. We are dealing with 2256 Burnt Lands Road. Ms. McQuaig, are you available?
I am here. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of committee.
Good morning, Ms. McQuaig. I need to administer the oath because we don't have a sign posting on the property, statutory declaration. Regarding the sign posting. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing as instructed and was clearly visible and legible during that time? Do you swear?
I do swear.
Please provide us with a brief description of your application today.
The application that we're seeking today would be a severance for a surplus farm dwelling, as well as a minor variance to alter the MDS required setback from 92 meters to 74 meters. I also want to note that there was a clarification on the notice, which has been with the committee since the last meeting. But just to confirm those numbers for the severance, I want to note that the lands to be severed, the frontage should be corrected to say 76 meters, and the depth should be corrected to say 53 meters. As well, the lot area should be corrected to say 0.4028 hectares. And that is to align with the minimum permitted lot size for the particular zone, so as to ensure that the as much of the lands as possible remains with the agricultural parcel. And we note that the minimum size for the agricultural parcel for the zoning is 30 hectares, and we're providing 35.5 hectares. So I just wanted to clarify those particular numbers. As well, for clarification or in terms of the numbers for the retained parcel, the broken frontage identified on the notice of 412.91 would thereby be corrected to 468.11. And as I noted, the lot area would be corrected from 35.1 to 35.5 hectares. And that was with request from staff.
Thank you.
And as I imagine this comment will come up, in the first set of comments we received from the Conservation Authority per the last hearing when we were adjourned, there hadn't been any identification from the Ottawa Septic System Office requiring the information about the septic, but that did come in on this recent communication. And so we did provide them with that updated reference plan on Monday that shows the location of the septic being 10 meters from the property line, so it's consistent with their requirements.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Mr. Gordon to comment on behalf of the city, please.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, the planning department has no concerns with the application, subject to the conditions contained within our report.
Thank you very much. I'd like to now ask our conservation partners for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As noted, the Conservation Authority, from a natural hazard and natural heritage perspective, has no concerns with the proposed severance. The application was circulated to the Ottawa Septic System Office, which identified that the original plan submitted did not include the location of the septic system on the proposed severed lot. As noted, we did receive on Monday a revised plan identifying the location of the septic system. I have circulated that to the Ottawa Septic System Office, but have not yet received any confirmation from them that that is adequate, just due to staff availability. So at this time, the septic system is identified on the revised plan, but I may suggest that a condition be added to the application to confirm with the Ottawa Septic System Office that the requirements regarding the septic have been satisfied.
Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Ms. McQuaig, are you aware of the conditions that are imposed on this application?
Mr. Chair, I am aware of the conditions, and to Ms. Ogden's request for that additional condition, that would be acceptable to us.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the panel now for questions, comments, or concerns. Ms. Chandler?
No comments, no concerns.
Thank you. Mr. Otto?
No comments, no concerns.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis?
Support the application, no problems.
Thank you. Mr. Vort?
No concerns with the consent application or the minor variance application.
Thank you very much. So first off, I'd like to ask the panel to approve the minor variance application. That is D08-02-21/A00264. All those in favor of the minor variance application, please raise your hands. Your minor variance application is approved. Moving on to consent application D08-01-21 and B-00165. All those in favor of the consent application, please raise your hands. Your applications are approved. Thank you, Ms. McQuaig.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to confirm, the approval of the consent was approved as amended based on the updated numbers, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Just wanted to confirm.
And the addition of the fourth condition.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Okay. So now I think we can excuse Ms. Chandler. Is that correct, Ms. Chandler?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so now we'll move on to application number 4. Application number 4 is having to do with 6379 Perth Street. Mr. Sutherland, are you available?
Yes, I am. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Good morning. Good morning. I need to administer an oath concerning the statutory signed declaration posting. Are you available to take that oath today?
Yes, I am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing as instructed and was clearly visible and legible during that time?
I do, yes.
Please proceed and provide us with a brief description of your application today, sir.
All right. So the two properties in question, 6363 and 6379 Perth Street, thank you very much, are highlighted here in red. So basically these form part of the Western Development lands, slightly west of the core area of the village of Richmond. Next slide, please. So it's a relatively simple application in the sense that we are creating two parcels and then exchanging them between property owners. So here is demonstrated the conceptual draft plan of subdivision that Kaivan is developing north of Perth Street in the Western Development lands. The parcel highlighted in red is currently owned by the BMR Richmond by Mr. Doug Kazda, and it will be created and conveyed to Kaivan to be included as part of their plan of subdivision. Whereas the parcel highlighted in blue is currently owned by Kaivan, will be created and conveyed to the BMR, Mr. Doug Kazda. Next slide, please. So just showing you here the parts to be created. Again, part 1 is currently owned by BMR to be conveyed to Kaivan, and part 2 will be conveyed from Kaivan to BMR. Next slide. So currently, the parcel that is being conveyed to the BMR property has frontage on Perth Street and is already zoned rural commercial. So in our view, it is appropriate that it would be conveyed to Mr. Doug Kazda and the BMR site. As part of that exchange, the BMR site will be undergoing a site plan amendment, which is currently has been applied for, is on hold until this consent process proceeds. And finally, the parcel that is being conveyed to Kaivan, which was previously part of the BMR lands, is being rezoned and included as part of a draft plan of subdivision application currently underway, and the proponent for that is Kaivan. So again, it's a very simple creation of two lots to be conveyed from one property owner to the other. And that's essentially the entire application there.
Thank you, Mr. Sutherland. I'd like to ask planning, Mr. Gordon, are you able to give some comments on this application?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, planning has no concerns with the application subject to the conditions within our report.
Thank you. And I'd like to ask our conservation partners if they have any comments to make.
Sorry, the Conservation Authority has no concerns or objections to the application.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to ask the panel for questions, comments, or concerns. Mr. Lewis.
No concerns. Looks like a win-win to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Otto.
Opposed, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vervoort.
Just with respect to the buildings that are on the lands that are being conveyed to Kaivan by the BMR facility, is that all going to be dealt with through site plan, the site plan approvals and the subdivision plan of subdivision approvals?
Correct. Through you, Mr. Chair, there is an application for a site plan amendment currently. Those buildings in that portion will be moved to the new parcel that's being conveyed to the BMR lands.
Okay, thank you. I have no concerns.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sutherland, are you aware of just that one condition? This is standard lot line condition and agree with it?
I do, yes.
Great. Now I'd like to ask the panel for approval of this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application is approved, Mr. Sutherland. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So now move
just to clarify, Mr. Chair, sorry,
yes.
We've approved both applications, correct? 4 and 5?
That's correct.
Okay.
4 and 5. Okay, now we move on to application number 8. Application number 8 is having to do with 6707 Franktown Road. Mr. Price, are you available?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Good morning. I would like to administer an oath concerning the signposting. Are you available to do that today?
Absolutely.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing as instructed and was clearly visible and legible during that time? Do you swear?
I swear.
Thank you very much. Please proceed and provide us with a brief summary of your application.
Sure. Good morning, Rod Price, Loritar Land Developments, on behalf of the owner of 6707 Franktown Road. If you recall, we were before you in the early July committee meeting. We were hopeful at that time that the EIS would have been provided to catch up with the application submission. Since that time, it was adjourned on the 7th, and we are before you today to create two just over 2 acre lots from the current parcel, the remnant to be transferred and merged on title with the property at 6559 Franktown Road, which is the same owner. Staff are supportive of the application. We're comfortable with most of the conditions. Pending any questions from members, that pretty much sums it up.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd now like to ask Mr. Harrigan to make some comments on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, the planning department has no concerns subject to the conditions. However, I would like to mention that the planning department requested a change to condition number 8 late yesterday. And I just want to make sure that that was conveyed to the applicant and to the committee.
Can you describe that condition,
Yes.
please?
So the condition 8 was just retained, it was just pertaining to the retained lands, and the original language was not appropriate based on the legal outcome because it was not a separate parcel. And in place of it, the department has asked that the applicant enter into a consolidation agreement with the city that just says that after the separate parcels are created, the retained land will merge on property with the abutting property to 6657 Franktown Road.
Any comments, Mr. Price?
No, that was the intention all along, Mr. Chair.
Perfect. I'd now like to ask the conservation partners for their comments, please.
Hey, yes, through the chair, the Conservation Authority doesn't have any objections or concerns with the planning applications. I believe at the previous hearing, there were concerns raised about activity occurring on the property that is being handled through the Conservation Authority's operations and doesn't necessarily impact the comments as it relates to planning. So just for sake of on the record that those matters and work that happens on either the retained or the severed parcels may require written permission from the Conservation Authority, and they should contact us as they proceed through development. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Just once again, Mr. Price, I just want to make sure that all 8 conditions, you're satisfied with those?
Apologetically, no, I'm not, Mr. Chair. In particular, condition number 5, in terms of how it pertains to a scoped grading and drainage plan. I'm sure you guys have all been around long enough. This is a new condition that seems to be being imposed on rural severances. These are 2 acre lots. Builders have not been chosen. We have no idea where houses will be built. I think it's more appropriate that grading and drainage be done in conjunction with the building permit application. It becomes onerous and costly to create these plans when an actual end use hasn't even been determined yet. These are just simple lot creations and a couple of flat parcels of land. And it's my opinion that it's more appropriate to be done as it traditionally has been done through the building permit process. And okay, no, that's okay.
My apologies. Can you comment on that condition number 5, Mr. Harrigan?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, that condition, you are correct that it is a new requirement that the department is requesting. The primary purpose of that is there's concerns. The first is that there's concerns with potential flooding to the neighboring property. And this level of a graded and service plan is meant to be scoped in nature, so relatively minimal, and is meant to ensure that there is an appropriate location for the building envelope, the septic, and well with all appropriate setbacks. And still adhering to the gradage and drainage requirements.
Okay. All right, Mr. Price, your other comments or concerns? But
and the other one again goes back to number 7. Again, it's a fairly new condition that's been carried forward by staff in terms of geotech and slope stability. Again, flat piece of property. There's no concerns, nothing's been raised by the CA in terms of dangerous slopes. Again, I believe it's more appropriate to be dealt with through the building permit process as opposed to an additional condition to be cleared by the proponents.
Thank you. Mr. Harrigan, any comments on that one?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Just before I delve into the number 7, I just want to make a comment relating back to the grade and drainage plan, that the primary concern is that there is a legal outlet for any water to go. That is one of the primary concerns of that scope grade and drainage plan. Now, in regards to condition number 7, the geotechnical investigation report, there is identified organic soils on property, which can have implications for development envelopes. And as such, we request the geotechnical investigation.
Thank you. Now I'd like to ask the panel for comments on this application. Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, a couple comments on that. Let's say that the person severs a lot and it stays the same. Nothing happened for 20 years. Maybe you just, why would you do a grading and drainage permit before something happens? And as Mr. Price said, who knows what's going to be built, where in the lot it's going to be built. And on the geotech side, I kind of agree with Mr. Price also for basically the same reasons. Is it just a flat condition that's going to be put on every rural severance right now? I don't know. However, I guess it's the way to try and discourage development in the rural area if that's what the planning department is looking to do. Those are my questions. I would say like to talk a little bit more about the geotech one, but I think the grading and drainage one is not necessary at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Otto, any comments or questions?
I agree in part with Mr. Lewis said. Can we attach it to the building permit process and still satisfy planning? If so, that's the way I'd prefer to go.
Can we do that, Mr. Harrigan?
Thank you. So you, Mr. Chair, the building permitting stage, they do a gradage and servicing plan there. That is a lot more in depth. This is a precursor work, a scoped idea, just saying that essentially the issue is that we're running into issues with lots that don't have legal outlets for stormwater, and as such as creating undevelopable lots. And this scoped level is just more of an overhead type of analysis of the property, just to ensure that there is an appropriate location for any form of building envelope, septic, and well, with their appropriate setbacks from each other in the lot lines, and that there is still capabilities to handle stormwater with a gradage and servicing plan.
Okay. Mr. Otto, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my question to staff is, and Mr. Harrigan, you're fantastic, and I understand you have a job to do, but it seems these conditions just come up out of nowhere sometimes without any consultation with whether it's rural landowners, other city departments. There's no engagement. They just miraculously show up on a planning report and we're all left trying to do it. So I don't know if there's an opportunity to have broader discussion with staff, with maybe some of the members of Ottawa Home Builders or anything like that we could bring to the table just so that everybody knows what we're dealing with and the cards we're being dealt, because it's, you guys see a number of these things come through and it just seems that things just come out of the woodwork in some of these reports. And it would be nice if there was some sort of public engagement component, whether it's with the industry or something where people can make comment and provide input into this process. It would certainly make for a lot less heartache for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Revort, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, for Mr. Harrigan, are these standard conditions that are going to be imposed on all severances? Or is this somewhat unique? Because I noticed this property is sort of near a part of the Richmond Fen and has some sort of unique characteristics, I guess, because of that. So maybe you can just address that, because I think maybe in some cases it might be appropriate, but I don't think we should be imposing these on every single application.
Mr. Harrigan?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, the geotechnical investigation report is unique to this property, primarily because of the organic soils and sensitive, potentially sensitive marine clays in there. The scoped grading and servicing plan that is starting to move in towards a standard condition to be applied to all severances. And again, the scope of this is meant to be minimal in nature and just more of a general overhead evaluation of the grading and servicing to essentially state that it can be done and can support development. And the work of this scope grading and drainage plan feeds directly into and can be utilized entirely for the more comprehensive gradage and drainage plan required at the building permitting stage.
But I guess my other question is, if these lots are fronting on a public road with a ditch already, like, isn't there automatically an outlet there? Or what, I guess my question, I'm trying to understand what problem could arise then from that.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. There is a drain at the front there, and part of this grading and servicing grading and servicing plan is to ensure that that drain can support development in there, and also that the land as it is now, will be outletting into that drain and not to neighboring properties as well too. So it is again meant to be more of an overhead view of this and not specific and not a comprehensive gradage and drainage plan.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lewis, comment?
Yeah, you got your grading at your scope DIS. I know they start out as small, but then they get bigger. We're already doing a terrain analysis and an EIS before it's even started. So a person goes through that, and then the scoped or the grading and drainage comes after a person spent all the time and money and it doesn't work out. Is that something that can be done part of the EIS thing before a person even starts? You're talking 2-acre lots here. It's not 40-foot frontages in a village. You've got 2-acre lots. What can change from the day before they're severed until the day there's a building put there?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Things can change. They can do clear cutting on the property. And that can cause issues with gradage and drainage. They can bring in infill. That can cause issues with gradage and drainage as well too. These are entirely different plans. A gradage and drainage plan is prepared by a qualified engineer, and an environmental impact statement is prepared by a qualified environmental planner. So they do deal with different things. There may be opportunities in the future to combine them, but it would have to be done by the same consultant that has engineering and environmental aspects combined into there. And for reviewing purposes, it does make sense to keep them entirely separate.
Okay, but here somebody has the land, creates the lot, sells the land, does a grading and drainage plan. The next guy comes along, buys the lot, doesn't want to do the chain, does his clear cutting or whatever you say. The first step's been total waste of time. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I support the application, but not with that condition.
Okay. Any other comments for members? Yes, Mr. Otto. You're muted.
Yes, Mr. Chair. In regards to these lots being on an open road with a ditch, I do have one comment. The city is intentionally, as far as I'm concerned, not cleaning out the ditches. And if that's the case, then the water basically will have no place to go. I know on my road that I live on here, there are trees that are approximately 12 inches in diameter growing out of the middle of the ditch along the road. And at places you can't pass, 2 cars can't pass. So we recently have been charged to pay for these ditches. So I agree, something has to change. And I don't think we should be imposing this on the people that are creating the lots. I agree with the application with the removal of a couple of those conditions.
Okay. Any further comments, Mr. Harrigan?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, the full purpose of the scope drainage and drainage plan is to make sure that there is a legal outlet for this. I cannot speak to what the maintenance of the drains there in the ditch. It may not be a necessary illegal drainage outlet there. And further, it is to ensure that there is a legal outlet and that they do not require an easement from the neighbor, or that they are not causing any flooding to occur onto the neighbor's property.
Okay, thank you. I'm of the opinion that both 5 and 7 are not necessary. So I would be in favor of this application going forward without condition number 5 and number 7. To this point, I see that Jackie Sinclair has joined. I'm not sure who Jackie Sinclair is, and you'd like to make some comments, Ms. Sinclair? Please
Hi,
introduce
yes.
yourself.
Hi, sorry. My name's Jackie, and I, with Chris Chutecki, who's somewhere on this screen, own the neighboring property. And already for months, probably about a couple hundred loads of fill have been brought in. I can't comment how much of that fill ended up on the lots that they're proposing are made residential, but we are definitely concerned about our property being made a low spot because there doesn't appear to have been any effort to make any drainage plans so far.
Okay, that's important information. Thank you very much, Ms. Sinclair.
You're welcome.
Mr. Price, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, definitely. I spoke with Chris yesterday and reached out to set up a meeting with the owner and himself. The area where Phil was brought in to fill a low spot is not in either of the severed lots that are proposed. Those have been untouched other than the previously existing road that comes in and entrance that comes off of Franktown. But we've certainly reached out and agreed to meet with them to make sure that, you know, if that fill that was brought in, I took photos yesterday, Monday, there doesn't seem to be, it's not a high spot, it was, you know, where anything would drain towards the property of the neighbors. There's lots of buffer, but we're absolutely ready to engage as neighbors in speaking with Mr. Hanna, who's the owner, to address any concerns that may be out there.
Ms. Sinclair.
With all due respect, we just spoke to Rod for the first time yesterday, and the fill dumping has been going on for months. So I don't believe there was ample opportunity for us to have responded to that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, with this new information, that certainly changes my mind with respect to those two conditions. So I would support this application. However, I would like to have all conditions remaining. Any other comments from panel members? Please raise your hand if you'd like to say anything else. Mr. Vort.
I agree with your position. In this case, I don't think that these conditions are necessarily appropriate in all circumstances, but given where the properties are located and the fact that they're near the Richmond Fen, I think it's appropriate to have those two conditions in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Vort. I'd like to ask the panel for approval of this application with all 8 conditions cited by planning. All those in favor, please raise your hands.
I approve, but without those 2 conditions. I'd like that noted, please.
All right, noted. Your application is approved, Mr. Price, with all 8 conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. So now we'll move on to application number 9. This application is having to do with 766. We did this one already.
Yeah, I think we're finished, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you all very much for your help today, and have a good rest of your week. This meeting